Greetings and a general welcome to Mytitle. I'm Jeffrey Montefiore here with Mr. Victor Koshut. Mr. Koshut, thank you for coming.
Yeah, greetings, thank you, and nice to be here.
Yes, may I call you Victor?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Victor, when did you become interested in intellectual property?
Well, when I was attending the Faculty of Law, I was also attending many concerts and cultural performances such as theaters, and also was playing in many music bands. After my graduation, I started to study cultural management and found out that intellectual property is an unexplored and much needed area even during cultural management study. Then I found out and I started to help my students and schoolmates and friends that later became my clients.
Wow, that's quite impressive. And what are a few misconceptions, usually with new artists or musicians? For example, they're looking to copyright or protect their work. And I think we've all heard of mailing a script to themselves. You know, what are some basic misconceptions that that artists or people looking to protect their work have?
Yes, I think the biggest misconception is that there is an official authority, such as state office or something like that, that registers copyright. And in the meaning that if there is a register, if an artist does not have this kind of register, he simply is not allowed to say or to tell the world I'm the author, and also there is no possibility for him to claim his rights, and also to send the work to other people. On the other hand, simply this is not true, but on the other hand, the proof or to make a proof of copyright is much more difficult.
I understand. So for example, underneath the Berne Convention, the Berne Convention is recognized by 177 countries out of 195. The moment of ownership or claiming ownership is when a work is completed or in the process of being completed.
Yes.
The work up to that point is the person who created it.
Yes.
Right.
The work is protected once it's created.
Right.
Yes.
And the difficulty, for example, with us at Mytitle is we're able to offer a timestamp along with entering into a blockchain.
Yes.
But the timestamp is relevant because, in a way, it has the same function of a notary.
Yes.
More or less.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And another myth I've heard was if a screenwriter types up a document and mails it to himself or herself, that somehow has legal standing. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. But I think it works only if he will send it by post.
Right.
Yes, if he will send it by post and it is in a fold and he doesn't open the fold, then it works.
Okay.
And it's the same.
And what if you're a graphic designer and a company asks you, we would like some mock-ups, some examples of your work for these logos, and you send it out, and so you would have to keep the documentation, right, of this like communication and the files.
Yes.
But I think the biggest difficulty is if you're a freelance artist and you're constantly working with clients,
Yes.
these things can get lost and they're not properly saved.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is the overall legal view of blockchain being used to secure original work?
This is a quite difficult question to answer because only a small part of the professional community understands blockchain matters. Besides that, only a small part of a community understands intellectual property rights and so on. So these things and matters I can only guess.
Because with my thinking is, with the blockchain, it's admissible in the U.S. court because it's like a normal business transaction.
Yes.
You know, in Czech Republic locally, what is their stance on the blockchain, or has it been brought to court?
I think there is no serious legal obstacle why do not to admit an evidence becoming from a blockchain. There is no legal obstacle due to the fact that as an evidence you can serve nearly everything which is obvious or which is able to obvious any matter or anything, whether it is in a physical form or online or in blockchain. So the form is not important.
For example, because the blockchain is used for cryptocurrency, and it's used by cryptocurrency for a number of transactions from business to exchanging money.
Yes.
And it's valid in court, most courts. I feel that for people that might be questioning the validity or strength, they already have the strength, which is the copyright itself, by the act of creating itself. And then in addition to that, you have another layer of protection, which is the timestamp. So you can also validate that along with, let's say, your own emails documenting your creation or communication with clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is possible, and I think it's a good choice to protect not only the works but also communications and other things via blockchain.
And Victor, I know that in the US, the blockchain is normally accepted as evidence at the federal level, and also being recognized by many states due to the fact that the blockchain is admissible in court because it's part of a daily business transaction. I know we discussed this a moment ago, but when it comes to, it seems like it's a very common sense logic behind admissibility in court as evidence that a blockchain is immutable. It can't change it.
Yes.
There's integrity behind it, that the ledger is shared by numerous computers on a server. Also, it's been, I would say, it's existed and matured as a technology over the years. Now, is this line of thinking of it being a business transaction and part of, let's say, a normal course of business, is it fair to say that it's internationally accepted as evidence?
I'm not sure if this type of legal position is similar universally, because unfortunately each country has its own rules of evidence and the definitions of evidence and legal effect of evidence. But it can generally be assumed during the court proceedings that all means and forms by which the state of a matter can be ascertained may also serve as an evidence.
Okay, I understand. And again, the thinking is a file that has been posted to Mytitle
Yes.
has an author that physically uploaded it. It's been recorded as entering into a blockchain. And let's say a person wants to challenge authorship.
Yes.
They can submit it to the court as a form of evidence.
Yes.
And even if there is an issue regarding that, that doesn't negate or cancel out one's claim to authorship by creating
Yes.
and even submitting it as evidence, no matter the outcome.
Yes.
Like, it's still part of the court record that this was the person offered a copy of a blockchain certificate, and let's say there was some issue, but it would be circumstantial evidence, like background evidence.
Well, let's say better indirect proof
Indirect
or
proof.
indirect evidence. Basically, it's on the court, or it's up to the court whether the evidence will be admissible or not. But really, there is no legal obstacle, and as I said before, it doesn't matter about the form of the evidence. The most important fact is that the kind or the form of the evidence is able to prove any fact.
Okay, I understand. So the blockchain itself would be indirect proof.
Yes.
Thank you. And now imagine I upload a file, a new novel that nobody has seen before, and I have a Mytitle certificate issued, and I send it out to publishers for years, 3 or 4 years, and then I have my Mytitle certificate safely hidden away somewhere, and in a bookstore I notice there's a very similar title to my own. The plot is very similar, the characters are very similar, and it's nearly word for word. What would you recommend what would you recommend the person who feels that there's some type of infringement? You know, not so much the court case of presenting the Mytitle certificate, but when they approach a lawyer, should they approach the lawyer first, or?
Yes, yes. I think the first option is to submit your certificate to the person who is probably stealing your work. That is the first option, and you will have an answer, and you will see how to continue with this legal case. Maybe the person who is stealing your work will not answer, or the person will refuse to stop stealing your work. Or the other possibility is that you cannot find the person or cannot connect the person. Then, unfortunately, the only possibility is to sue the person at the court.
I see. Legally, what are some work habits that a professional can do to strengthen their Mytitle certificate? What can they do while they're creating, in addition to the Mytitle certificate?
I would advise to have the work in its best form, which means all the characters, all the scenes, and all the matters connected with the work in its best form. And also I think it is very important to upgrade the versions of the work and to give to Mytitle every version of the work which is being created.
Okay, thank you. And one last question. I know that a person cannot copyright a concept, but at what stage does a well thought out concept become a creation itself? Is there a border to that?
Yes, there is a border, but the border is not sharp, unfortunately.
Okay.
If you write a topic or a concept itself, it is not protected as a work. But it becomes protected as a work once it has some structure. And the structure in meaning of characters and scenes. If there are no characters and the definitions of the characters, their names, ages, what they are working and so on, what about their emotions and aims and so on. So it is not a work, it is only a topic or concept, and that is not protected.
Okay. Victor, thank you so much for your time today. And I wish to thank everybody for tuning into Mytitle to see this interview with Mr. Koshut, and also regarding your intellectual property and the services that Mytitle offers. So thank you.